for your convenience, but just an update on the comm status.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Chris, you've probably been able to tell we've run get-aheads. I was going to pass along to do the teardown from steps 3 and 4 in the approach monitoring, but I just saw it go gray, so have you done that already?
Hold on just 1 second. Which one was that? Maybe I fat-fingered the wrong procedure.
Yeah, no, it's subtle. So it's in the execution note for Dragon approach monitoring. As we were monitoring Dragon earlier in the day, down in the execution note are the teardown steps.
I'm here in the cupola right now. I'll take care of it. It's not gray, but momentarily will be.
Sounds good. And I'm also hearing on that we have done on the ground steps 1 through 4, so it's just 5 and 6 left for you in that teardown procedure.
Copy that. On 3, steps 5 and 6 are complete in the teardown.
Copy, Chris. Thanks for that. And just about to hit the button and reattempt the hardline checks with Dragon.
Okay, copy.
Endeavor, it's Houston calling via hardline voice check. How do you read?
Say again.
And station standby Endeavor. This is a call for Endeavor via hardline voice check. How do you read?
Houston, Endeavor, completely unreadable. It's skipping pretty badly.
And Endeavor, it's Houston on Dragon to ground. We heard your reply loud and clear. Understand we're still broken. We're working it. Thanks for the patience.
We got you, Josh. That's exactly the case. Thanks.
Dragon FM voice check. How to read me? Counting 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5.
And station on 2 for Anatoly. Anatoly, we're hearing you loud and clear in Houston. We seem to have an issue still with COM2 Dragon, so we'll just have you stand by. We'll let you know when we're ready to retry. Thanks for your patience.
Okay, call me on Space to Ground 1, please.
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground for a timeline tag up.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Anna, we're managing the collection of the used water bottles and other items as well as our meal, and just looking to understand a little bit better how closely we're to hatch opening or another timeline milestone. We're kind of running to the end of the tablet here with meal 5 that started about, 25 minutes ago or so, and so just wanting to understand how much time we've got in front of us.
In Dragon SpaceX, we estimate we are about an hour to Dragon hatch opening.
Copy that, Anna. Thanks for those words. It just helps us manage getting things done. And looks like you guys are on board. Welcome aboard, I guess, the integrated space station now, huh?
Indeed. Thank you so much. We're excited to be here.
Endeavor, Houston calling over hardline for a voice check. How do you read us now?
Houston or station from Endeavor. I'm not sure the location of that last call, but still quite a bit of skipping and unreadable.
And Endeavor, it's Houston, loud and clear on Dragon to ground. We heard your response, so we're in the same situation. We're hearing you, you're not hearing us. We have one more troubleshooting item that we're going to put in work now, so we'll give that a try and then maybe call it for the day. We'll let you know.
Endeavor copies. Thanks, Houston.
Endeavor, Houston calling via hardline for a final voice check. Do you have us now?
Houston, Dragon on the big loop, that was an improvement, but it's still completely unreadable.
And Endeavor, Houston on Dragon to ground 1, we're still hearing you 5x5. Understand it was slightly improved. Were you able to read me at all, or is it unuseful?
Yeah, it was a slight improvement, but it's still unintelligible, almost every word. There was maybe one word that you could have sort of figured out, but that was about it.
Okay, thank you for the feedback. First time, obviously, and we think we're running into some interference issues, but we'll continue to take a look.
We copy, thanks.
This is Mission Control Houston. If you're tuning in to our coverage, you're getting a live look at the International Space Station Flight Control Room. You're hearing a lot of communications from the International Space Station, both from the space station side over space to ground, NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, International Space Station Commander, setting up for the hatch opening. You can see a series of cameras scattered around, ready to capture the best views of Bob and Doug coming through that hatch. We did get confirmation just shortly that we did have good pressurization of the vestibule. It'll be about 10 minutes to perform a series of leak checks. Again, that pressure needs to stabilize. The thermal conditions make it swing just a little bit, so just waiting for that to stabilize before those leak checks are finalized. That underway within the next 10 minutes. We do have communications settled in the hardline connection between International Space Station and Dragon. You can see from the inside of Dragon now, the crew doffed or took off their suits, just getting a few things packed up before they eventually open up the hatch after that pressurization is equalized between Space Station and Dragon.
Endeavor, it's Houston calling for a voice check over the big loop. We've retransitioned back to RF, so back to RF. How do you hear us?
Houston Dragon on the big loop. Was that comm check for us?
Yeah, affirmative, Endeavor. It's Houston. We transitioned back to RF because we still had the interference over hardline. So we're back on RF now and just want to make sure we had you.
We've got you loud and clear on RF.
Loud and clear as well. We're just going to leave it here for now. Thank you.
Here's a live look from inside the Crew Dragon. You're seeing Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley just preparing the inside of Dragon. They have doffed or taken off their suits. The pressurization between Space Station and Dragon is complete. They just need to perform some leak checks, make sure that pressure is stable before they actually open the hatch. Teams working together on the ground, International Space Station Flight Control Room and the Flight Control Room in Hawthorne to get that big loop communication configured so everyone can hear each other through this process, figured out a workaround using RF connection. This is Mission Control, Houston. If you're just joining us, you're getting a look inside the Crew Dragon. That was Bob Behnken seated on the right side, the pilot seat, or the Joint Operations Mission Commander seat for Demo 2. He and Doug Hurley, the commander of the spacecraft, just preparing the inside, putting away some trash. They just doffed their suits, and right now just waiting for the pressure to equalize between the International Space Station and Bob and Doug. Just two hatches, really, separating them from the inside of the orbiting complex. Aboard International Space Station, Commander Chris Cassidy has been outfitting Node 2. It's the first node. Once you cross over some of the hatchways, there it is. You can see some of the cameras positioned around to capture the crew coming in to the International Space Station. Much of that work completed at this point. Really, at this point, just waiting for good leak checks between Station and Dragon.
Right on 3.
Hey, Chris, we're not seeing good connection between the SSC-25 and the camera. We're coming up on a handover, but they're looking for a reboot of SSC-25.
Reboot 25, copy.
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground for inventory.
I am here and ready to copy.
Okay, Anna, we'll start with location 9 from bag 203. Remove 3 water bottles.
Copy. 3 bottles removed from bag 203.
Good read back from location 10. We removed bottles from each of bag 207, 208, so 6 water bottles in total.
And Dragon SpaceX, you were pretty broken on that call, but I think I copied 3 bottles from each bag 207 and 208. Is that correct?
That is a good readback, Anna.
I copy.
Okay. For location 11, 1 dinner from bag 317, 1 breakfast from bag 315, and 1 lunch from bag 316.
Yeah, there are several.
I copy 1 dinner from 317, 1 breakfast from 315, and 1 lunch from 316.
Are interested, but they're all everything that was taken has been sent down.
That's a good readback. And location 12, 1 dinner from bag 321, 1 breakfast from bag 319, and 1 lunch from bag 320.
I copy 1 dinner from 321, 1 breakfast from 319, 1 lunch from 310. And am I correct to conclude all of this includes your consumption from the lunch that you just completed?
That's correct, Anna. We've finished eating, and the lunch we just completed is a good, complete list of what I've read down to you so far. The only thing we have remaining is the flush of the waste system here, and we'll do that with a water bottle and report when we do that a little bit later.
Copy. That sounds like a perfect plan. Thank you so much.
Okay, with that, that's the extent of our inventory. All else is per the packing plan.
Copy. All else from per the packing plan.
This is Mission Control Houston. You've seen Chris Cassidy, International Space Station Commander, do much of the setup, but he does have 2 crew members on board, both Russian cosmonauts. Next to him right now is Ivan Wagner, rookie space flyer that was on the same Soyuz spacecraft that Chris Cassidy launched on from the Baikonur Cosmodrome just a little more than a month ago. Also on board is Russian cosmonaut Anatoly Ivanishin. This is Mission Control Houston. We are coming up on almost 2 hours since the Crew Dragon made contact and was captured by the at the International Space Station's forward International Docking Adapter. That happened at 9:16 a.m. Central, 10:16 a.m. Eastern. Still working through some of those milestones, equalizing the pressure between Dragon and International Space Station, verifying some of the communications, and of course you see Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley inside, continuing to prepare the inside of their vessel before they make their way inside the orbiting complex.
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground. Do you mind taking the cameras down for just a few minutes here?
We will put that in work and let you know when it's done.
This is Mission Control Houston. You heard the call from Bob Behnken, Joint Operations Mission Commander of the Demo 2 mission, taking down some of those video feeds. We're still waiting for some of those milestones to pass before actually opening the hatch. The Dragon crew continuing to get themselves ready before opening the hatch. Chris Cassidy on the other side, just preparing some of the camera views, making sure everything's set there, done even a little bit ahead of time. We do have confirmation that there is a good data connection path between Dragon and the International Space Station. Some of those checks underway next. Coming up on 2 hours since docking at 9:16 a.m. Central, 10:16 a.m. Eastern.
Space Station on 3. The SSC's been rebooted. Any success?
Hey, Chris, we see good connection between the SSC and the camera, and we're just performing the calibration now, and we'll start recording shortly. Thanks for your help.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to help.
Dragon SpaceX, we have gone exterior with the cameras.
Dragon copy, thanks.
This is Mission Control Houston. Again, you're getting a look at the inside of the International Space Station. That's NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, commander of Expedition 63. Continuing to get some of those cameras configured for hatch opening. Many milestones already passed after docking at 9:16 a.m. Central, almost 2 hours ago at this point. At the time of docking, the International Space Station was on Russian thrusters. After contact and capture, was moved over to control moment gyro, stabilization and attitude control. Now back to its standard configuration of thrusters and control moment gyros. After an umbilical connecting Dragon to the International Space Station was established, we did get confirmation of good power flowing from the International Space Station to Dragon. Dragon now relying on station power. We did get confirmation of good data transmission. And of course, the teams here on the ground, both here in Houston and in Hawthorne, troubleshooting some of the communication to make sure that is ready to go prior to hatch opening. Pressurization between International Space Station and Dragon brought up to the same pressure, 14.7, the same we would find here on Earth. Leak checks are next to confirm the pressure is stabilized between the two vehicles. You see the hatch just on the other side of Chris Cassidy there. That's the hatch to the pressurized mating adapter. There's two more hatches once you go down that hatchway. One is to the International Docking Adapter, and the other is the hatch of Dragon itself.
SpaceX Dragon with a couple of questions.
I am here and ready to copy.
Hey, Anna. We show about an hour and 11 minutes since we started drying the suits, just to let you know that. And then the other thing is we can put 4.400 section 2 in work if you think we have some time before we get the hatch open.
We copy. You are go to stop drying your suits and turn off that suit fan at this time. Let me get you words on that waste system flush.
Copy. We'll shut the suit fan off now.
In Dragon SpaceX, we are about a half hour prior to hatch open, so you are go to do that waste system flush if that sounds good to you at this time.
Okay, we may give it a few minutes. If it's going to be 30 minutes until hatch opening, we may want to use it just one more time. So, yeah, we may hold off for another 10 minutes or so. But let us know if anything changes. Otherwise, we'll do it then.
Totally reasonable. Sounds like a good plan. Thanks.
And Dragon, Houston on Dragon 2 ground. We're still working comm issues. We're going to take down the big loop now. We'll maintain you on Dragon to ground. We'll call you when we have hardline back in place.
Stand by 1 second. Chris.
Dragon copies, Houston. Thanks.
Go ahead, Chris. Sorry, I was talking to Dragon.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, I'm just looking ahead at the PAO event, and I know it says video through the node 2 and space to ground 2 up and down. It would only take me about 1 minute to change back over to the encoder and go do comm the normal way that we do PAO events, if that's something that's preferred. It really is super fast, and I can get you that way in that config real quick if you need it. Later.
Copy, Chris. Yeah, copy. Thanks for that. We'll offer it up, and I'll let you know if we want to go that way.
Copy. Obviously not urgent or important, just throwing it out there.
Station Houston on 3 for Chris, comm config.
Go ahead.
We just wanted to clarify from your last comments. We show it as being in the standard config, whereby you're going to be coming down over the camcorder HD mic, and we'll be going up over space to ground 2, and that's what we're intending. Did you maybe just? We might have missed your intent in your previous remarks. Is that what you had in mind?
No, I had, like we do all other PAO events, we talk, we hold the handheld microphone that is going through the clip-on mic transmitter to the clip-on, through the camera, and then the audio comes down through the encoder. That's how we typically do PAO events. So I could go back to that config if you need, super fast, or if you want to do it this way where we're talking on space to ground 2, that's fine too. I don't care. Just throwing it out there because it's different than we normally do PAO events.
Standby.
And just to be clear, with the configuring now is the Node 2 camera is not connected to the encoder, as you probably know. So all I would do is just plug the cable back into the encoder and switch back over to the nominal Node 2 camcorder.
And Chris, that is clear. The camera needs to be plugged into the encoder. So what you're saying is what we need. We don't know where it got swapped up, but the camera should definitely be plugged into the encoder, and audio is coming down via that encoder.
Okay, so yeah, we'll just use it on the. I guess what I was thinking is going back to one without a battery and not be dependent on the battery, and going back over to the nominal cable, which includes power. I just get a little leery about relying on these batteries.
Copy. We have Photo TV online, so we're talking to them on the phone right now. Stand by one. Station Houston on 3 for Chris. Microphone and the free float camera both connected to the encoder. Does that clear it up?
Okay, copy all. You want the free float camera, and we'll use the handheld microphone through the ATU. Copy all. No problem. I think I'm not communicating. No pun intended. But I think we're in a good config now, and I won't swap over to the nominal Node 2 camera.
He connected a new cable.
Down by Chris. Station Houston on 3, Chris. If you're still there, we think we still have it backwards. So I see you look. Yeah, I see in the video now. So we still have PAO on the line. Sorry for the confusion, but I think this much is clear. This morning, we moved cameras, we swapped the cameras that were connected to the encoder. What we want now, we're getting video from the free float camera through the encoder, so that's good. We're seeing it right now. What we need, just relaying here, is your lapel mic. That has to go through that new free float camera, so that your mic connects to the free float camera, and then that audio comes down through the encoder. Does that make sense?
That's the config it's in right now, and that's all perfect. The only benefit, I guess, I didn't initially make it clear is if I switch back to the normal cable and the normal camera, we're not dependent on a battery power on the camera. I just am worried that throughout this whole event, we're gonna that all of a sudden the battery's gonna go out. I go back to the normal.
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground. Now report complete with 4.012.
The benefit to this free flow camera is
complete
I can
with
take
4.012.
and make it all the way into the Dragon, which I don't think we could do with the other cable. So my thought was, after we do all of the ingress stuff and we switch gears to the PAO ceremony when we're standing right in front of the hatch, we could have actual power to the camera. But it's really no big deal. What I'll do is I have got a couple batteries on standby, and I'll just make sure there's a fresh battery right before we start that PAO event.
Okay, Chris, sorry it took so long, but I'm 100% with you, and copy 100% on the battery concern. The word we're getting here is we would like to run it in the config that it's in right now. We copy all on the battery config. Great idea to have a few spares nearby, but we think it's going to last throughout the whole event.
Okay, copy all.
And Station Houston on 3 for Chris. With that out of the way, you have a go when able for your 1615 activity. 1615, that's your go for steps 3 and 4 in 2.102 Crew Dragon ISS arrival.
Okay, 1615 activity, inward.
Endeavor, Houston calling on hardline for a voice check. Endeavor, Houston calling via hardline for a voice check.
Loud and clear, how was?
Hey, Endeavor, Houston, we have you loud and clear on hardline. Great news.
Well, congrats. Sounds like we got it at least somewhat sorted out.
Affirmative, concur. We think we might have found interference between C2V2 and the hardline system, but we're going to keep it here for now and proceed down the timeline.
Never copies.
Houston on 3, hey, can you back me up on the PDT?
Will do, we're checking. Station Houston on 2. Chris, TPT is good. You're good to continue.
Copy, thanks.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're looking at the inside of the International Space Station. What you were hearing before were just some of the audio and video checks, just making sure that everything's synced up so that we get the best views and the best audio possible for when Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley come through that hatch. We're working towards the hatch opening now. You can see Chris Cassidy down the pressurized mating adapter. That hatch will open up to the international docking adapter. On the other side is the Dragon hatch. Cassidy working through those procedures after pressure equalization was complete. Now expecting around the order of 10 to 15 minutes, maybe, until we finally get that hatch open. So we'll stand by, keep those views coming from the inside of the International Space Station to welcome Bob and Doug aboard. This is Mission Control Houston. You're looking at the live view of the inside of the International Space Station Flight Control Room. The team here, Orbit 2 team led by Flight Director Scoville, is working through the intricate process of making sure everything is ready to open the hatch and welcome Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station. It's been a journey so far to get to this point. More than 2 hours ago, made contact and capture with the International Space Station was the Dragon vehicle, the Crew Dragon vehicle, with Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard, 9:16 a.m. Central, 10:16 a.m. Eastern.
Dragon FM, voice check. How do you read me? Counting. 1, 2, 1,
30-minute
1,
timer that
2,
you gave
2,
us a little
1,
bit
2,
earlier.
3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 5.
Here, and then give you go to come back on board.
In Dragon SpaceX, you were pretty broken in that previous call.
Houston Station, speak ground 2. I don't hear Dragon.
I think you're being summoned by the Russian crew. In Dragon SpaceX, I was told to proceed with you. Can you please repeat your last?
Yeah, Anna, just wanted to double check with you to make sure you had copied our last and that we were still good on that estimated timer that you gave us for 30 minutes. It looks like we've got about 10 minutes left. So we'd like to pick up in section 2 of 4.400.
Checking.
This is Mission Control Houston. Chris Cassidy opens the hatch to the International Docking Adapter, 11:37 a.m. Central Time. Station and Dragon flying together, 267 statute miles over the South Pacific. This is a view from the camera at the forward end of Dragon.
20 minutes until Dragon hatch opened, and the APAS hatch was just opened.
Again, 11:37 a.m. Central. The hatch to the International Docking Adapter was open. You see Chris Cassidy there poking his head in. That's the camera at the forward end of the Dragon. Now only one hatch separating Bob Behnken, Doug Hurley from Chris Cassidy, who you're seeing here from those Dragon views. Expected time to open that hatch is about 20 minutes from now. We'll report that time to you and expect to do a welcome ceremony at 12:15 a.m. Central Time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern. That'll welcome Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station as part of the Expedition 63 crew. We'll get to hear some words from them and have some VIPs here in Mission Control Houston to provide words to the teams that oversaw the entire mission and the crew aboard the International Space Station.
Station Houston, we copy the hatch open, no condensation, thanks.
Dragon SpaceX on Dragon to ground, comm check.
Dragon to ground, how us?
A little choppy, how me?
You are loud and clear. We'll put section 2 of 4.400 in work.
We copy all. Thank you. And please give Anatoly a call on Big Loop.
Okay, we'll call Anatoly on the Big Loop. And I'd also like to report 2 bottles of water consumed from location 9, bag 204.
Location 9, bag 204, and to confirm that was for the waste system flush.
One for the waste system.
Chris Cassidy, removing that target from the APAS hatch docking interface.
Dragon, comm check on the big loop for Anatoly from Endeavour.
Dragon FM, voice check. How do you read me? Counting 1 to 1, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5.
Anatoly, Endeavour has you loud and clear. How copy?
Copy, Houston. They have you loud and clear.
Good to hear your voice.
Dragon FM, how do you read me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. See you soon. Turning over to Houston.
And all players from Houston, that completes the comm checks. Thank you.
Copy.
Okay.
This is Mission Control Houston. Those comm checks within the International Space Station between the Dragon crew, Chris Cassidy, and on the other side of the International Space Station, the Russian segment, Russian cosmonaut Anatoly Ivanishin, completing those voice checks. You can see Cassidy continuing to outfit the hatch, just clearing the space and providing some padding and removing that docking target from the APAS hatch.
SpaceX Dragon, go ahead and Dragon to ground.
So I copy that the waste system flush is in work, and 2 more bags were consumed from location 9, bag 204, and that includes the water used for the waste system flush. Is that all correct?
From bag 204, one of which Bob is in the process of consuming, and the other will be for the waste flush. That is correct.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying. And secondly, do we have your permission to come back on board with video?
Negatives. We're going to need about 2 minutes. We're just wrapping up ops here right now.
Copy. 2 more minutes. We will await your confirmation.
Thank you.
Still getting views from the infrared camera that's located right at the center of the Dragon hatch, looking at Chris Cassidy, International Space Station Commander, outfitting that hatch, getting ready for Bob and Doug to arrive. You were hearing communications over Dragon to ground. That was Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley on the other side of that hatch, inside the crew Dragon vehicle, finishing up their operations on the inside for that hatch opening, expected in about 10 to 15 minutes. Again, it's been a process to get to this point. Just about 2.5 hours ago, docking to the International Space Station was Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the first commercial American vehicle to dock to the International Space Station with crew aboard. Again, we're expecting about 10 to 15 minutes to open up that hatch One more hatch separating Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley from the inside of the International Space Station, still looking at Cassidy doing some of the prep work for that hatch. We'll get some great views that Cassidy set up over the past few hours to capture this historic moment today. Be sure to stay tuned in at 12:15 p.m. Central Time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll start a welcome ceremony officially welcoming Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the International Space Station to join the Expedition 63 crew.
SpaceX Dragon on Dragon to ground.
Go ahead.
Anna, you're clear to come on board.
Copy. Clear to come on board, and thanks for your patience with the comm. We are in an orientation that's creating some blockage to receive your comm on Dragon to ground.
Yeah, we figured that was it. No problem. That's part of the deal.
Chris Cassidy giving a wave, eagerly awaiting Bob and Doug to come aboard. Just behind him, you see Anatoly Ivanishin and Ivan Wagner, Russian cosmonauts of Expedition 63 standing by. We'll be able to come aboard Dragon here in a sec, get some views from the crew Dragon. We're in a short handover of those communications from the International Space Station. Video and audio should be regaining them momentarily. Anatoly Ivanishin in the foreground there. Chris Cassidy continuing the prep work for opening up the hatch there. Again, the pressurized mating adapter hatch you see there in the foreground is open. The APAS hatch to the International Docking Adapter is open. Just one more, and that's the hatch of Dragon, the Crew Dragon vehicle.
Station, space to ground 2, station is ready for Dragon hatch equalization.
Station Houston copies. Dragon call ready when you're able.
Houston, Dragon, go ahead.
And Dragon, Houston, just looking to confirm that you're ready for hatch equalization.
We are ready as long as SpaceX is ready.
Okay, station and Endeavour, stand by for equalization. We're putting it in work. Expected equalization time, 4 minutes.
Station copies.
Endeavour copies.
This is Mission Control Houston. We're continuing to equalize the pressure of that last hatch. Behind that hatch is Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft. We are moments away from opening the hatch and welcoming them aboard the International Space Station. This is Mission Control Houston. If you're just tuning in, we are standing by for confirmation of the hatch opening between the International Space Station and the Crew Dragon. There's the hatch to the Crew Dragon. Seeing Doug Hurley through the glass on the other side. And there's Bob Behnken. Still equalizing that pressure between the Crew Dragon and International Space Station, just moments away.
Dragon SpaceX on Big Loop. You are go for hatch opening per the decal, followed by the remaining actions in your procedure 4.400.
Dragon copies go for hatch opening and remaining steps in 4.400.
And with that, the hatch is open 12:02 p.m. Central Time, 1:02 p.m. Eastern. Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley opened the hatch to the International Space Station after launching from American soil on a U.S. vehicle for the first time in 9 years, the first time ever for a commercially built spacecraft. If you're just tuning in, the hatches are open between Dragon and the International Space Station. International Space Station Commander Chris Cassidy now talking with Doug Hurley and Bob Behnken aboard the Crew Dragon spacecraft. That hatch opened at 12:02 p.m. Central, 1:02 p.m. Eastern.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop. The hatch is open in 5.54.400. How copy?
I copy. Hatch is open. Great to hear. Thanks.
And SpaceX Dragon in 5.9, we're going to exit out of 4.400 and transition to 2.102 Crew Dragon ISS arrival through the hatch opening.
I copy. With that, I understand you are complete with 4.400 and will follow along with you as you transition to the ISS procedure.
This is Mission Control Houston. The crew of Demo 2 just performing a few closeout duties. The hatches are open. They were open 12:02 p.m. Central Time. We're moments away from the board Demo 2 to enter the International Space Station. It'll be the first time that Americans will enter the International Space Station on a rocket launched from U.S. soil, built by an American company. The first time ever Americans will enter from a commercially built spacecraft.
Station Houston on Space Ground 2 for Chris. When you're able, we're just looking for a quick voice check on the mic.
Station Space Ground 2, go ahead.
Chris, we were hoping we could voice check the mic just before starting the PAO event.
Okay, copy that.
Houston Dragon on the big loop, and step 6.1 of 2.102 IMV duct installation is complete. Go for IMV fan activation.
Houston copies, go for IMV fan activation, that's in work.
If you're just tuning in, you're getting a live look.
Station Houston on two things. Chris, we did hear you over the PAO side of things. That was a good voice check. We might ask you for one more. And then for the Dragon crew, you also have a go for 6.3. That's opening the location 23 and checking for debris.
Dragon copies 6.3 in work.
If you're just tuning in, you're getting a live look. On the left of your screen is a look inside the Crew Dragon on the Demo 2 mission. On the right, the International Space Station. Bob Behnken.
Dragon on the big loop. We are ready for 6.4 and section 4 of the LIO instructions.
And Station, we copy. Dragon crew, you are go at 6.4.
In work.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're getting a live look at the inside of the International Space Station, losing video communication from the International Space Station. It will only be momentary. We'll have those views back to see Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley enter the International Space Station. When they do, it'll be the first time that humans will enter through this hatch for the first time in 9 years.
Dragon, so we had to load the procedure from my iPad and hand it in to them, so that's what took a little longer.
We copy, Chris. Station Houston on 2 for Chris. When convenient, PAO requests an additional voice check through the mic. And Chris, we're not hearing you in MCC. We are apparently getting it through to PAO. Just stand by. Chris, PAO is working. Comm reconfig. I'll call you if we're ready for another check.
Houston and SpaceX Endeavour in 6.5 LIO cartridges sealed and installed.
SpaceX copies.
Station Houston on 2 for Chris. We wanted you to confirm that the mic is in channel 1. It needs to be in channel 1. A thought here is that it could have been bumped over to 2. And Chris, we see you trying. We're still not hearing you in MCC. We're working on it. Chris. Nothing in MCC. We see you trying. The word here is that as long as that is in channel 1, any problems past that point are on our end, so we're looking into it. We'll be right back to you. Station Houston, we're ready for another voice check through the mic. Station Houston, we have you loud and clear through the mic. Thank you.
SpaceX Dragon on the big loop in 7.1.
SpaceX here.
Okay, Anna, in 7.1, it appears that the AVV inner Bravo is open, as well as the PPRV ISO valve.
I copy that AVV inner Bravo appears to be open, as well as PPRV ISO. Yes, we are good with that call and appreciate the status. Thank you.
This is Mission Control Houston. If you're just tuning in, hatches were open at 12:02 p.m. Central Time. We are moments away from Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley entering the International Space Station. Again, this is Mission Control Houston, moments away from Bob and Doug entering the International Space Station. Shortly after they enter, we will conduct a welcome ceremony. There will be VIPs here in Mission Control Houston, Ficker 1.
Looks like they're all closed visually now. We are in 8.3 for both SpaceX and Houston. Dragon arrival configuration is complete.
SpaceX copies. All valves appear closed visually now, and arrival configuration complete. Excellent to hear.
Houston copies. And with that, Endeavour, welcome to the International Space Station. Please come aboard.
Endeavour copies with pleasure. We'll be there in a second.
We have Bob Behnken from SpaceX Demo 2 mission entering the International Space Station. Followed by Doug Hurley.
And Station Houston, we see you, and it's a great-looking photograph. So thanks for that. Stand by one. We'll call you when we're ready for the event in the next few seconds. got a whole bunch of very happy and grateful people making their way into MCC right now.
Demo 2 crew now aboard the International Space Station. They entered at 12:22 p.m. Central Time. The station at the time was 262 statute miles over Turkmenistan. Crew all gathered in front of the cameras at the Node 2 forward end of the International Space Station. Just behind them is the hatchway to the Crew Dragon on this Demo 2 mission. We're standing by for a welcome ceremony. We'll have VIPs here in Mission Control Houston ready to greet the crew.
And station, we're just about ready. Stand by. All right, station, it's Houston on Space Ground 2. Confirm that you are ready for the event.
Houston, this station, we are ready for the event.
Copy that. And sir, Administrator Bridenstine, welcome to MCC. Please call station for a voice check.
Station, this is the NASA Administrator. Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear, sir. Welcome to the space station.
Thank you, Chris. It's good to see you. And welcome to Bob and Doug. I will tell you, the whole world saw this mission, and we are so proud of everything you have done for our country, and in fact, to inspire the world.
We sure appreciate that, sir. It's obviously been our honor to be just a small part of this. We have to give credit to SpaceX, the Commercial Crew Program, and of course NASA. It's great to get the United States back in the crewed launch business, and we're just really glad to be on board this magnificent complex.
Well, we have some VIPs with us here, and I'm sure they have some questions that they'd like to ask you, but I have one of my own before I turn it over. And I just wanted to find out if you guys got any sleep on your way up there the last, I'd say, I got 19 hours. Did you guys get any sleep?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks in Hawthorne were asking the same question, sir, but we did get probably a good 7 hours or so opportunity for sleep, and I did succeed at sleep, and Doug did as well. So the first night is always a little bit of a challenge, but the Dragon was a slick vehicle, and we had good airflow, and so we had a excellent evening, and just excited to be back in low Earth orbit again.
Amazing. Well, one of the people that is here with us today is Senator Ted Cruz, and of course he's a huge advocate of America's space program, and he's been somebody who has helped us so much as we transition from one administration to the next administration. And the reason missions like this can have success is because of continuity of purpose. And Senator Ted Cruz was a leader on a bill called the the NASA Transition Authorization Act. And because of that, we have had a lot of political support, and we're very grateful for his leadership Senator Cruz, would you like to say a few words?
Well, congratulations, gentlemen. The eyes of the world are upon you, and everyone is proud of you. All of America is watching you, and today and yesterday represent big, big days. We're looking at a decade since we've had America. To see you've docked, and so let me ask you, that Dragon is an amazing vehicle. How does she handle?
It flew just like it was supposed to. It was we had a couple opportunities to take it out for a spin, so to speak. Once after we got into orbit last night, and again today, about 20 minutes before we docked. And my compliments to the folks back at Hawthorne and SpaceX for how well it flew. It is exactly like the simulator, and we couldn't be happier about the performance of the vehicle.
What do you guys hope to accomplish in your time on the International Space Station?
Well, while we're on board the space station, of course, with the new spacecraft, we do hope to put her through her paces, and so the good ship Endeavour is going to get a lot of checkout over the next week or two here, and hopefully we'll be able to declare her operational, and Doug and I will be able to take some burden off of Chris and his crewmates, Ivan and Anatoly, so that we can keep the space station operating at its peak possibilities. So we're looking forward to contributing any way that we can, and like I said, trying to keep space station as productive as possible.
As a country, we're in the midst of a tough week. We're seeing protests, we're seeing a lot of anger, we're seeing violence. And I have to say, this launch and y'all's docking is a powerful inspiration of what we can do when we come together, of the power of unity, the power of ingenuity. And so I guess the last question I would ask you is since you have the opportunity to address, in particular, all the young people in America, what would you tell them in terms of what we can do when we can come together?
You know, that's a great question. 9 years ago, just about exactly 9 years ago, we docked with Atlantis on STS-135, the last flight of the Space Shuttle program, a 30-year program. And folks at SpaceX, folks at NASA, the Commercial Crew Program put their heads together and worked diligently year after year, making sacrifices, working hard. And then 9 years later, American launch capability was restored, and this is just one effort that we can show for the ages in this dark time that we've had over the past several months to kind of inspire especially the young people in the United States to reach for these lofty goals and work hard, and look what you can accomplish.
Thank you, gentlemen. God bless you.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. We have another very special guest here that represents the Johnson Space Center. And, of course, it's my good friend from the House of Representatives, Dr. Brian Babin. And I want to be clear, he also was a big part of the NASA Transition Authorization Act, which gave us the continuity of purpose to make this happen today. So, gentlemen, here is Dr. Brian Babin from the state of Texas.
Thank you. It's great to be with you guys. I was at the launch yesterday. I just want to say a huge congratulations. And, you know, there was a thunderstorm that blew in about 30 minutes or 45 minutes or so before liftoff. And it was in doubt there for a minute, but it was just an enormous achievement. I just want to say thank you for you guys. Really appreciate what you're doing for America, and the crew that's already been up there, Chris, and your two fellow Russians. To give you a great big thank you as well. I have a son who is a Navy SEAL, and I want to thank you for your service there too, Chris. And also, I would like to just see what I know you said that the craft, the Dragon, handled very well, but I want to see how it compares with the space shuttle. If one of you would address that, I would appreciate it.
Well, thank you, sir. It certainly has been a long endeavor for us and our namesake spacecraft. We're proud to have her on board the International Space Station after all that the teams around the country and across America have done to get us here today. As far as a comparison with the space shuttle, both Doug and I took a few minutes while we were accomplishing the approach and docking to, in our spare time, talk a little bit about it. We were surprised a little bit at how smooth things were off the pad. The space shuttle is a pretty rough ride heading into orbit with the solid rocket boosters. And our expectation was, as we continued with the flight into second stage, that things would basically get a lot smoother than the space shuttle did. But Dragon was huffing and puffing all the way into orbit, and we were definitely driving or riding a Dragon all the way up. And so it was not quite the same ride, the smooth ride, as the space shuttle was up to MECO. A little bit less G's, but a little bit more alive is probably the best way I would describe it. Anything else, Doug?
No. Sounds good.
Bob, what is MECO?
Sorry, I have to apologize for actually using the term MECO. It's a little bit confusing between the space shuttle and the Dragon vehicle. So it's a main engine cutoff is what MECO stands for. Those happened at different times in flight for the two vehicles. For the space shuttle, that was when you were all the way in orbit. For Dragon, that was just a little bit after 2 minutes. And then we had the single engine cutoff for second stage when we achieved orbit. So that time under the single engine under Dragon with one engine was more of an experience than the shuttle was for that 6.5 minutes or so that we were under that second stage motor.
Well, I would just like to say, in fact, Doug, did you have something you wanted to add there? I met your mother and father yesterday, Doug, and great folks. They're very, very proud of their son.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Hopefully they enjoyed the launch. I know for parents, it can probably be pretty nerve-wracking for them to experience a launch. This was their third, so I'm glad everything went okay, and hopefully it was a good show. We haven't obviously heard or seen any video yet, but we're looking forward to seeing the launch replayed sometime.
I can assure you that it was a great show. It was one of the treats of my lifetime, I would have to say, and many other folks that were sitting there looking all across the country and even the world. And I can tell you, as Senator Cruz said, we've gone through some really, really rough times over the last few days, and to have that successful launch, the public-private partnership between NASA and SpaceX, and you guys being so well-trained and having it go off without a hitch was a tremendous blessing for our country. And I can't tell you how many emails and communications I've gotten from people that who were so disturbed by what's been going on, transpiring around the country, to have the great news and the wonderful liftoff and everything going without a hitch. So I just want to say God bless both of you. Thank you so very much. Bless the rest of you folks up there as well. We thank our Russian partners. And thank you, Chris. Y'all are all in our prayers, and we're looking forward to seeing you successfully complete your mission and back safely on Earth. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and just so you guys are aware, the show was in fact spectacular. The ratings on NASA TV beat everyone else. not just some of them, it beat all of them, and that includes, yeah, just so everybody is aware, the whole world saw this. It trended #1 on Twitter. It was the #1 thing talked about on social media in general. This was an amazing moment, and it represents a transition in how we do space flight from the United States of America. NASA is not going to purchase, own, and operate rockets and capsules the way we used to. We're going to partner with commercial industry for access to low Earth orbit, and those partnerships are going to enable our providers to get customers that are not NASA and drive down our costs. And we're going to have numerous providers that are competing on cost and innovation and safety. And we're going to have more access to low Earth orbit than ever before. And this business model, now that it's been proven on commercial resupply of the International Space Station, now commercial crew to the International Space Station, this model is going to apply, and I know Senator Cruz has this near and dear to him, when we go to the moon. And of course, when we go to the moon, it's going to be done because of the great people here at the Johnson Space Center and so many other centers across the United States of America. But when we go to the moon, we're going to land on the surface of the moon with commercial landers. And of course, we're very proud of the Commercial Lunar Payload Services Program being managed right here out of the Johnson Space Center as well, so that we can take small payloads to the surface of the moon. And all of this is leading up to an amazing day where we have humans living and working for long periods of time on the surface of the moon, but doing it with a purpose. And that purpose, of course, is to go to Mars. Humanity is going to explore more and be able to go further than ever before because of the public-private partnerships. We all know that if the government is creating the demand and the government is creating the supply, we will always be limited. But when we have partners that are interested in exploring commercially and doing the things that are necessary, to get capital investment, then we're all going to end up better. So I want to just say the whole world saw this. This is a new era in human space flight, and we are so grateful for the service of not just our 2 astronauts that embarked on this mission, but the 100,000 plus people that participate in it, in this mission, everything from the suppliers to the main contractors, to the NASA team, the SpaceX team. What an amazing day for our country and, in fact, for the world. I'm going to turn it over for a second to my deputy, Jim Morehard, who's been a great deputy at NASA.
Gentlemen, congratulations. You know, Jim's mentioned going to the moon. And yesterday and today, one, you've inspired the Artemis generation, which is our next generation. And that's what this is about. It's really bringing the children that we've got and our grandchildren forward so they'll be the ones that are going into deep space. This is the dawn of a new era, and we just thank you for being at the beginning of it. Thank you so much.
It was absolutely our pleasure, but it's just a huge team effort across the board from SpaceX to NASA that made this all happen. We were just the lucky guys that got to fly the rocket yesterday.
I have a question for Chris Cassidy. You know, our crew here decided to be about 3 days late. You got to work them overtime, I presume, now to get them caught up on all the activities that they missed out on. Any plans for them?
Well, the day they missed out on was a good one for them to skip. It was Saturday house cleaning, but I took care of it for them. We'll catch up next weekend. But in all seriousness, we've got a few things to take care of tonight. Make sure we're all safe and we know the plan in case something bad happens. And then we're looking forward to some operational stuff later in the month. Maybe we'll get outside and do some spacewalks. And our efforts in these coming weeks will be in that effort. So we're all super excited to have 2 more crewmates to the Expedition 63 team.
Awesome. And of course, here in Houston, this is the home of the astronaut office, and the Johnson Space Center is led by Mark Geyer, and I'm going to turn it over to Mark for a few comments.
Thank you, Jim. Hey, it's great to see all of you there. Good to see you, Bob and Doug. I know we talked a few days ago. You look a little taller than I remember you. And but I also want to thank Anatoly and Iman and of course Chris for what you guys have been doing since you all arrived. And I know there's been a ton to do, and you've been really busy, and I appreciate that. So I also like this visual of our international partnership. We have had a tremendous partnership with Roscosmos, and we will continue to do so. But it is nice to see crew arrive from this side of the space station. So that's pretty cool after 9 years. I did have one question for Chris, though. What might you do to ensure that Bob and Doug stay longer? Do you have any strategy there?
Well, we'll slow down the rate of which I'm eating food, and maybe we can stretch out our consumables a little bit. But that's a great question. We'll have to come up with some conniving scheme here in the next few days.
All right, thank you. Thanks, guys. Look forward to greeting the three of you eventually back in Ellington after your work is complete. Thank you.
And, of course, Mark Geyer has an amazing deputy, Vanessa Weiss, if you'd like to come and say a few words.
Thank you, Jim. Hi, guys. You look really good. I just want to say on behalf of everybody here, we just want to thank you. It was an amazing launch, and we love seeing the docking. You guys all look really good. Just thank you for all that you're doing, and we can't wait for you to return, but not too soon. Station wants you to get a lot of work done, so looking forward to all of that. But thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Vanessa. We appreciate that.
All right, we also have with us Steve Jerzik, who is the Associate Administrator for the agency. For people who don't know what that is, that, of course, is the Chief Operating Officer of the agency. But he also ran the flight readiness review for this mission. He did really an amazing job, and I can't say enough about his leadership at the agency. Steve, if you'd like to say a few words, ask a few questions.
Hey guys, it is just great to see you all on the station. I can't tell you how my adrenaline shut down when you guys opened the hatch. I mean, I've just been on edge ever since yesterday, and the weather cleared. I can't tell you how great it's been to see you on station. It has been a team effort. I felt like the last 2 years I've kind of been part of the team, working through issues, and it's been a heck of a year and a half with Demo 1. And the in-flight abort test, and working through issues like parachutes and the escape system, and I just could not be more proud of the team for getting to this point. It's amazing, and you obviously have been part of that. I really appreciate you all showing up in Washington, D.C. at our reviews, and because the last thing we do at those reviews is look at you all, because you guys are the risk takers, and make sure you're okay with where we are and where we're headed. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate your active participation in that. And I could not be more, like I said, more proud of the team, and congratulations. And it is awesome to see you guys on station.
Well, thank you, sir. We're just proud to be a part of the team that got to bring space flight back to the Florida coast. I appreciated the comment earlier that it was nice to see a vehicle come to the forward portion of the space station, but I'll tell you what, that's the only way Doug and I know how to do it. So thanks to the team for providing it to happen our way. We appreciate that.
Well, Bob and Doug, just so you're aware, I'm being given the wrap signal. Doug, did you have something to say before we wrap it up here?
Oh, no, sir. We're just happy to be here, and Chris is going to put us to work, and hopefully we will fit in and not mess too many things up.
I have no doubt that you guys are going to do amazing work. I just want you to know the president came to the launch, and the vice president came to the launch. About half the cabinet was at the launch. We had members of Congress and members of the Senate from both sides of the aisle, and this was an amazing moment of of unity for the nation. It was an amazing moment for the whole world to look up in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic and some other challenges. We were able to have this very, very special moment where we could all look at the future and say that things are going to be brighter tomorrow than they are today. And you and the NASA team and the SpaceX team gave us that opportunity, and for that we are so, so grateful. I would also be remiss as the NASA administrator if I didn't promote what comes next. And of course, this is the beginning. We are now launching to low Earth orbit again, but we will soon be going to the moon. We will be going to the moon sustainably with commercial partners and international partners. We're going to use the resources of the moon to learn how to live and work for long periods of time. Ultimately, we're going to take all of that knowledge and we're going to go to Mars. And of course, this time when we go to the moon, we go with a very diverse, highly qualified astronaut corps that includes women, which is why we call the program Artemis, named after the twin sister of Apollo, and she, in Greek mythology, was the goddess of the moon. This is the beginning. There is so much more to come, and I'm glad that our representatives of the Johnson Space Center are here because we're going to be asking them to fund this project. And what an amazing day that you guys have given us. So thank you from not just me and the people here, but from the United States of America and people all around the world. I'm more popular on Twitter than I've ever been, and it's because of you guys. Thank you.
To the crew on the International Space Station.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Chris, we ask that you just hold your position for a few minutes. There's, of course, a number of photos we'd like to take. And then a quick note for those down here in the room. To Senator Cruz, Congressman Bobbin, Administrator Bridenstine, Director Geyer, and all of our distinguished visitors, thank you for your participation in today's historic event, and thank you for the leadership that has enabled it.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event as we count down to 20 continuous years of humans living and working on the International Space Station.
That concludes our coverage of the SpaceX Demo 2 mission in conjunction with NASA. On behalf of all the teams that participated in this mission, from Hawthorne to Houston to Mission Control to the Kennedy Space Center, this is Mission Control Houston.